Okay, I think we're live now.
Yes.
Alright.
Hello.
Hi everyone, welcome to this weekly Wednesday live stream. I'm Timothy Von Rieden, better known as Vonnart, and this is my partner Shwa, helping out as the mod today. Now, we're going to do an official intro in a few minutes after people are joining in, and today is going to be another one of our follow-along streams, so if you want, you can download the resources below on the Discord, and we're going to be drawing some flora. So if you want to draw alongside with me, get out your pencils, get out your paintbrushes, get out your digital tablet pens, whatever it might be, and we're going to start very soon. So as we like to start these off, if you could put where you're watching from, Josh will do the shout outs, and I will give out some announcements while we're waiting. So the only announcements I have are tomorrow we're going to be doing a Final Fantasy VII Cloud stream, so if you want to come watch me and geek out about Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out, I'm going to be working on that tomorrow. And also on Friday, I'm going to be doing a stream with Volarte. I'm going to do my second interview stream, and it will be very insightful. I want to be learning more about not only who he is, but how he got to where he is and the journey that he took to get where he is, because everyone has a different journey. And I think with these type of art interviews, I want them to hopefully not only inspire you guys, but give some insight on how there are so many different paths to make it, quote unquote, as an artist. And I'm very curious to hear about his. And those are the only two streams. You know what? I can show you. When I switch over to the pencils, I'll show you the 300K drawing that we worked on last Saturday. It is almost done, and it should be posted on Friday. And I think that's mostly what I got. Oh yeah, I should mention on the Discord we have a emoji contest going on right now that you can enter, and one of the winners will be selected to be one of the YouTube emojis that the members can use. And YouTube members, you can join for $2 a month to use the exclusive emojis in these live streams. Or if you just want to donate, I am saving up for a pet goldfish. I want to name him Bubba, and I want him to be displayed in the back of the stream so you guys can see Bubba during the streams as well. So all of that is below, and I think that's all I got with announcements. So if you want to start doing the shout outs, I'm going to start kind of organizing things here.
Getting it all put together.
Mm-hmm.
Drea says you guys switch places.
We did.
No, we didn't.
It threw Josh off. He does not like being on this side.
I feel like I'm a really habitual person, so I'm usually used to just being there, and that's my little spot. And I can kind of hide in that corner. I feel very like in the open right now.
Oh yeah, I'll light the candles while you're doing that.
Hello, Kelsey. Oh, thank you for joining. I'm excited to see what you're gonna put in the chat today. Oh, Eunuch says hello from Germany. From me and my dinner that I need to eat quick to join the drawing. Yes, eat up, but also enjoy the food.
Shovel it in.
Oh, are you lighting? Did you already burn through this one?
Almost.
Oh my goodness, it's so close.
So I started this tradition where every time I streamed, I would light this candle. It's a citrine candle, and basically there is a rock, and you can see it. Wait, right? There it is. So I would only light the candle when I would stream so that I could get the rock, and we're almost there. I mean, probably because we've been streaming so often lately, and it makes sense of why we're almost at the bottom. All right, you can keep going.
All right, we're gonna keep doing this. Hello from France, Sarah Destiny. Hello. We have Anthony from Massachusetts. Hello, Anthony. Femme, such a beautiful pin you're wearing. Where could we possibly get all these things? Oh, you can find that on the vonnart Etsy, and I can throw a link on there. Because yeah, we have all these new metal ones.
Or if I did my job right, it should be in the description below. There should be an auto link to it.
Oh, is it?
Should be. If I copy and pasted the description on things correctly.
Yes, yep. The Etsy shop is in the description.
Beautiful.
Dylan says, where are the greenhouses? Oh, yeah, we ended up moving it.
So for now, we put it, well, I guess they could go in here. The one that we have is in our back room where it gets the most sun. I don't know if I was just nervous with it starting out. I wanted to get the most sun. But it will be moved into this corner. See this empty spot we reserved? So that is where the greenhouse will be.
Yeah, we ended up moving it just because we weren't sure at first.
Mm-hmm.
Sydney from Utah. Hello, Sydney. Hey, Ella. Ian's getting books book and pencils ready. Getting all prepared for the draw along.
Beautiful.
Anthony, quick steal the spot.
Oh, when I got up.
Yeah. Right, I should have just ran over there. Fem says the link is there, but no harm in mentioning it. Yes, thank you, Fem.
Very true.
Yes, all the pins. And I even have an asterisk pin that Tim got me. I don't know who you got this from. It's upside down at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of fitting for Astrid, honestly. I don't know if you can see my pin. It's a little upside down Astrid. Dima says hello from London. Hello.
Hello, hello.
We're all caught up in those then.
Beautiful.
Starting shortly.
So the way that the stream is going to be broken out is into a few different sections. So the first section is I'm going to talk about the different ways to draw flora, and I'm going to talk about a detailed view of plants and then a more impressionistic view of plants, and how to save you time when deciphering between the two and which one you want to draw on your piece. Second, I'm going to show a lot of examples of plants that are close up versus far away and how to render them differently. And then we're going to talk about basically the breakdown of how to make plants look realistic. A lot of it has to do with the more imperfect you make the plants, oddly enough, the more perfect you make them look. Oh, thank you, Luna Luz. Oh, for Bubba.
Oh, Luna!
Oh, you get the bell. I feel like
you just gotta get the momentum going. It just doesn't start off well.
I like the finger tap as if that's gonna
Well, it doesn't like go back and forth. Sometimes it like just misses.
Well, probably because you're just finger tapping.
The finger taps are supposed to help the momentum.
Well, thank you, Luna Luz. The goal to reach Bubba is happening.
We're getting there.
I'll turn on, I forgot, I gotta turn on my audio so we can hear that. Anyways, we're gonna be talking about how to break it down into the shape and form, how to avoid tangents, and then how to make something detailed. And we're gonna be talking a little bit of the 30% versus 70% that I usually like to talk about in terms of where to put your detail, considering most of the time your detail will be focused in one area and the rest of it you can kind of, put an impression of what's there, especially when you're doing environments. So like I said, we have a packet on the Discord that you can check out. Or I think you know what? No, I uploaded them separately. So on the stream follow along channel in Discord, I have the 3 environment pictures that we're going to be doing studies of, and then 2 of the close-ups of plants. Now, I'm going to be switching to pencil once I get to that point, so we're going to have a bit of a transition, so Josh will get his favorite seat back. Yes! So during that time, just know that we're going to do some warm-ups first. It'll probably be the same thing we did last time. We'll do 10 minutes worth of warm-ups. We have the timer ready to go on the stream for this one, and we will do it that way. Because I want to show, as much as I want to show digitally how I would do it, since I primarily work with pencils and I feel a lot of you that follow these streams work in pencils, I want to show how I would go about working with traditional medium. And lastly, if there's any comments or topics you want to cover, just please put at vonnart or at Schwa Plays Games so that we can see the comments really easily. I mean, since I have a mod, I'm sure we'll
I usually try to catch them, but I mean, sometimes I do miss them, so that at vonnart does help sometimes because it really sticks out for me then.
Yeah. And yeah, okay, so let's do the official cut for YouTube. Hi everyone, I'm Timothy Von Rieden, better known as Vonnart Online, and welcome to this weekly Wednesday live stream. I do these every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Time, and normally I will be joined by my partner, Josh, better known as Schwa.
Hello.
And today we're going to be doing a plant flora follow-along tutorial stream. And these are going to be streams that I want to do every Wednesday. I think I talked to Josh about making these follow-along streams a weekly event. So if there are those of you out there that want to have like an assignment type drawing where you draw with someone and then you see the results, I will be here every Wednesday until, actually probably for a while, and if you want to draw with me, and it'll be a different subject matter every week. So if there's something you want to see, let us know in the Discord, because I am always open to try and teach whatever you want to learn. And then at the end of the stream, we'll do a quick kind of critique of a few of your drawings if you want to submit them to the same Discord channel. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them because we have a few that we're going to be doing studies of. So we'll probably just pick some of the ones that we feel best or that I feel I can critique the best and give some constructive criticism. But also, I want to share your guys' work on the stream live. So thank you for joining me if you're joining today. But don't worry, we don't have to start drawing yet. So let's go ahead and first talk about how do we draw plants? How do we do this? So the common mistakes I see with people trying to draw plants are usually all the leaves look like this, and usually when we're drawing plants or whatever, they oftentimes either come right out of the stem, which some plants do that, but usually has this very uniform look to them. Now, this doesn't mean that this is the wrong way to do it necessarily, but the problem is if you have just a bunch of these type of plants that never touch, oh yeah, you know what? This is the type of plant I hate seeing, where the leaves are like like this. I don't really want to see that necessarily. And if you have a bunch of these where they're not overlapping or intersecting, this looks like a graphic design or like a children's book that you fill in with color. But since we want a more realistic impression of plants, instead we're going to talk about how to do that. So my first one is imperfect. Oops. Oh, you know what? No, you know what? I'll still write it out. I was like, I've made my own font just for this type of situation, but I don't mind writing it out.
All that time making those fonts.
Right? So with foliage and most plants, trees, bushes, whatever it might be, the more imperfect it looks in terms of the shaping and the way that the leaves are bouncing around each other, the better. And that's usually not the case with a lot of things. You want things to have more of a symmetrical look. But with plants, you want it to be asymmetrical. You want there to be organized chaos within it. Now, I watched this tutorial way back in the day. I might have to find the actual tutorial and link it on the stream after. But it's this guy that works with pens, and he talks about how when drawing trees specifically, you want to avoid doing this, where you have these perfect circle shapes to represent the tops of the trees. Instead, have some breakups in that circle, make it a little bit uglier. You can still do the same type of base. It looks more a little like broccoli, but when you're shading it, normally, let's say the sun, the direction of the light source was coming from this direction on both of them. You want to think of the cluster of leaves as one giant form and shape, rather than it being individual leaves. So in this case, if we were to look at the shapes of these, I mean, obviously with the three balls, it's pretty easy to tell how you would shape it. But this is essentially how you would put the shadows and the lights. You'd clump it into giant shapes. Now with the imperfect one, it's kind of the same idea, but you would break it up a little bit more in the center. Oops, you know what, I'll still do the down shadows. Like this. And then from here, you could break it up even more and have some of the shadows within here. And then maybe put a little more lines where the light meets the shadow. What?
Nick says broccoli is good. I like broccoli.
I mean, yeah, I love broccoli.
Yeah.
But broccoli always goes bad on me within a day. I always buy it, and then I'll eat just like 2 of the heads of the broccoli, and then the other part goes, I'm like,
and you keep
you're
it
not
in the
supposed to store it
fridge
in
too.
Yeah, but then it goes soft.
Oh.
It's like this weird issue I have with broccoli.
I guess that's why I just choose not to eat broccoli.
Yeah, that's the reason. So when looking at drawing big clumps of leaves or bushes or trees, try to think of breaking it up into being imperfect and then shading it in giant chunks of light and shadow. And then from here you can get more detailed, and if you wanted to start shading it in. I would still put some little pockets of light within even the shadow areas, just a little bit, because sometimes there's a branch that sticks out more. And then I would break up the edge quite a bit. Now, I'm someone that does like to do a pretty clean line art on everything, but the further away an object is, I guess this kind of gets into our next point, the less detail you want to give it and the more of an impression you want to give it. Now, when we go into the 3 examples of the environments that I put in Discord, we'll better see how to translate that. But for instance, let's say there was, we're going to get rid of, or you know what, I'll leave it there. Let's say that this was a rolling hill that the tree was sitting on. And honestly, you want to show some of the roots if you can, just because the tree really is itself upside down but in the ground. And the more impression that you give of the roots entering the ground usually gives a more realistic feel to the tree, and maybe some, little grass impressions around it. Anyways, let's say then there was this giant ocean, and then maybe a mountainscape. Maybe there's a castle back here. Whatever it might be. Let's say that there's some trees along this area. You can literally clump the entire area of trees together, maybe even here, and it creates more of a shape. And the further away you get from the shape, it's called, what is it, atmospheric perspective, I believe, where the further away something is, the less clear it is and the less refined, and often the more opaque it appears. And that's because, at least the way I was taught in school, was in the atmosphere, there's a bunch of floating particles. And the further away you are from something, the more of the particles stand in between you and that object. So it becomes blurry because it hazes the image. That's why things like fog and sometimes pollution can create this dense air. What would that be considered? Like a dense air block of what you can see in the distance. So I was always taught that if something is further away and if it's sunny out, usually you want to add more of a light blue haze in front of it because there's so much bounce light from the earth, and it makes it less valued. Or there's less value in terms of, a light versus dark value. And then objects in the foreground oftentimes are way more detailed and have more contrast in value because it is closer to the subject's view, and this is where we want to put more of our detail. So this kind of leads into I know I'm going to be doing a lot of rambling for the first 15 minutes, and then I promise we'll have more of the back and forth comments. But I just want to get it all out so that we can get into the drawing segment. This gets into our next topic about doing the 30% versus 70% in terms of detail. So I'm going to get rid of this. So the difference between detailed and impression is the closer up something is to the viewer, you want it to be more detailed. So in this case, this would be our detailed area. So this could be, let's say, 30% if this was our scene. We want to put most of our detail here. Let's say there's a person under the tree reading a book or whatever. So this is where we want to put most of the focus. The rest of the scene can either be slightly out of focus, blurry, or less contrasted because this is where we want to direct the viewer's eye. And a lot of this could just be background jibble garble. Now the other thing though is if you want some foreground elements to keep staging your scene, let's say we have some flowers that are really close up in the foreground, maybe some vines, maybe some of these even intersect over our main focus area. This gives us the impression of layers to your drawing. That means that there's a foreground, middle ground, background, and then there's a bunch of ones in between. Usually though, everything can get broken down into, you know what, I'll just bring out the color. I'm going to keep color out. Oh, where did my color window go? Oh, way over here. So in this case, these elements would be your foreground. And now normally there might even be more over here. And then the green, oh, no, this would be the green. Green would be your midground. And then lastly, is there a color you'd like to see, Josh?
I would like to see blue.
Blue. Then everything in the back would be considered your background. So having these different elements will help enhance your image, have more of a composition interest to it. But that doesn't mean you necessarily have to have these. And the way that I would render things in the foreground versus the midground and the background are very different. Someone like me, and I'm sure maybe some of you guys feel this too, we want to render everything. Everything has to have a crisp edge. Everything has to look like it has a texture and a purpose. But I promise the way that I've kind of been more efficient with my drawings, well, I still do this to an extent. I try to render everything. But
Yes,
if something is further away in the distance, I usually am more okay with it being more opaque. And that's because then it helps enhance, by contrast, the things that are in the foreground. Because normally when we think of contrast, we think of this, black and white. But there's also a few other ways to think about contrast, and that could be saturation contrast, and I mean things with color, hue contrast. But then in terms of subject matter, you could have an image. Actually, you know what? This one works pretty well. You have an image where most of the detail and most of the interest is here, but the rest of it is empty. So this would be a situation of detail contrast because you have a giant area of nothing, and that helps balance all the intricacies, especially in the foreground. If I had a bunch of these little twigs and leaves all over here, it helps keep a balance. Now, sometimes I like to have the entire image be rendered and have their detail be everywhere. The problem is usually that creates a composition that's full of noise and it doesn't really lead the eye into a direction. Now, you can do other things in terms of contrast, but I feel like I could do a whole stream on the different types of contrast, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. So just know there's a lot there. Oh, the next one I want to talk about, this leads into, are tangents. So most of you guys know a tangent is something like this.
Also,
or
if anyone has questions, feel free to write any questions on what Tim's saying right now too.
yes, yeah. And I'll do my best after to answer a bunch while we're switching over.
Also, hi Amber. Amber's my
Amber's
beautiful
here?
sister. Yes.
Oh, hello,
And I'm sure my
Amber.
niece Anya is probably watching too because she's loving drawing. So I love seeing her stuff. Elaine, hello.
Elaine's here?
Yes.
Hey, Elaine.
I love you too, Elaine.
hello.
Drea says Josh always picks blue. Is that your favorite color? Yes.
Yes,
Blue
it
and
is.
green. But admittedly, blue is my favorite, and choice of odd may have caused that a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. So tangents are a big no. If you can avoid tangents, especially as visual artists, we have a medium in which we can create zero tangents in whatever we draw. Now, whenever you take a photo or whenever you're in life, there will naturally be some tangents, but I always was told with the medium that we work with, why not try to eliminate these eyesores and these areas of uncomfortableness? So a tangent is basically when two objects come really close to each other. They may touch or they might be just slightly off. There's a little gap. There's a valley. These make everyone uncomfortable, so don't include these in your art. And the worst thing I see is when people do plants, they have tangents everywhere because they're not thinking about them as tangents. So instead, you get a bunch of these leaves that look like this. And then, but you notice how unrealistic this kind of looks? Now, once again, if you're doing more graphic design, I can kind of understand that sometimes this will happen or sometimes it is intentional, but usually this is really gross and it creates an eyesore and you don't know where one thing begins or one ends. So this leads us into overlapping. So when you're doing foliage, you want to overlap as much as possible. And I have an example. We'll come back to this. But these are examples of overlapping that I just find gorgeous. I will post who the artist is because they're my favorite foliage artist. They do really close-up shots of different flowers and usually they include insects or birds. you can see how much overlapping there is everywhere. And this doesn't even just mean the leaves, but the leaves are overlapping the actual stem. You see it everywhere. And it's gorgeous. Now sometimes you will get tangents, but you can even see it almost looks like they actively avoid tangents, but you can kind of see one there. But for the most part, this artist I guess I haven't specifically tried to clock them for tangents, but they did a good job. Well, I guess right there would be a little bit, but I'm nitpicking at this point. This is gorgeous. The shapes are overlapping, and this is what I mean by having leaves that intersect and overlap. So that's why when we do the reference studies, you'll see how we overlap them. Okay, and I think the last one...
Do we do questions really quick?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we pretty behind?
No, actually, we're pretty good. Ian says, in the foreground, can we blur out some of them, or do we have to make it detailed?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, what is this called? I think it's forced. Oh, what's it called? It's where things in the foreground are blurry, things in the midground are crisp, and then things in the background are blurry. Oh, it's a camera term. Basically, when you have a zoom on a camera, you know how you can focus on certain objects by turning the angle of the lens?
Autofocus?
Basically, yes. If you want the foreground elements to be blurry as well, you definitely can do that. And it totally makes sense if you have blurry, crisp, blurry.
Drea says, I thought tangents created visual interest as long as it's infrequent.
I have never been told that. I've always been told avoid tangents at all costs. And especially, okay, I wonder if I can quickly... So imagine if I had...
Oh, forced perspective.
Forced perspective? Thank
Yeah.
you. I think that is correct.
Okay.
Yes. What's a good example of how I can... You know what? I'm gonna search for this really quick. Because I know there's an image that better explains this really quickly. Not geometry tangents.
I was saying, we are getting into some really intense stuff there.
Oh, thank you, Julio Gayton, for subscribing.
Thank you. Got the little bell ring. You gotta get the momentum going, and I don't want to, like, make it super loud.
So this is similar. Oh no, this is the one I was looking for. Okay, so these are the two images that talk about tangents. I was going to try to redraw this really quick, and I was like, I'm just going to pull these up. Okay, so let's talk about each of these really quick. Move this over. So basically, you can see how much, it's weird because sometimes this is, I don't want to say it's a personal opinion, but visually, this creates a lot less de-stress or a lot less stress looking at this corner of the jaw, for example. You see how it, or you know what, this is the best one, the chin, where the butt of the chin connects with the Adam's apple. It creates this visual, strange image where it almost looks like the chin goes into the neck, or like the line of the chin, but in what they were trying to do is show an Adam's apple and the cut of the chin. But on the right side, you can see how they're easily separated, there's no confusion, and it doesn't create this what's going on in the image. I was always taught that when looking at art, you'd never want the viewer to question if what they're seeing is what the artist intended, or if they are thinking the artist made a mistake, and they think that then that artist is unprofessional, essentially. So I always look at where things come to a point or they intersect, and I always try to make it either overlap or have enough distance between them so it's not uncomfortable to look at. Okay. So
yeah, Elaine says it really flattens planes when you have tangents.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I know what I want to say, but I can't think of the words. That is perfect.
That's why I love having chat, because I feel like we don't always remember the words for things.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like when Tim and I are alone, we tend to sit there and be like, what's the word for that?
Oh, I do it all the time. Okay, so then the last thing I wanted to talk about was to create plants. I usually do 3 different methods. It's usually edging, shadows, or subtraction. Now, edging, I'll show you more when you do the pencil, but essentially that's literally taking the time and going through and edging out every single thing, especially on working with a traditional medium like graphite. Usually you have to edge it out if you want a nice crisp line. Now, things like oil paintings, and we'll mention Annie Stegg in a second here, a lot of the times when she's doing these very small, let me pull it up. And I only know this because I was looking at her drawing or her painting very closely when I did my study of hers on Monday. And I realized a lot of her leaves are just brush strokes that you can do in one simple motion. So something like this flower up here, let me zoom in. This could easily be when you put your brush down, you start light, you push heavy so the bristles, widen out on the brush, and then you pull up so brushes come back in, and it creates this nice looking leaf. And you can do that over and over and over, and it creates very fast foliage. Now that would be an efficient way to work, but with pencil, if you're not edging them out, the way to make it a little faster, I'm getting lost in my own layers here. Oh, there we go. So with pencil, a way that you could make it go faster is using the edge of the brush or the pencil, holding it sideways. And imagine that this was my pencil very sideways. You create these very large, blocky shapes. And then in a sense, it creates an edge. It's just not a really crispy line art edge. But what you could do is go through, create all these very heavy, blocked out shapes. And at the end, come back with your pencil, put it more toward the tip, and then edge out certain areas. Because like I said, you don't need to have the entire image rendered out. Especially with plants, you want to focus on where you can have it be more impressionistic and where you want it more detailed. So when I'm doing mine, usually the plants that are closer to the viewer will be more in detail. And then if there were some plants behind this one, I would most likely make them lighter just so there's some contrast. And then those I won't edge out nearly as much. And we'll get into that when we do the pencil stuff. But that is the shadow way of working. And then subtraction is similar to what my guest Babs Webb does when she does her work. And with graphite, you can do powdered graphite, or if you're using charcoal. Basically, you lay out an entire area of a midground, and you use your eraser. Actually, I'm going to use this type of an eraser. So you use an eraser, and you can either literally go in and edge it out this way, where you're blocking out the shapes of the leaves. And that's one way to create the look of leaves. Or you go the opposite direction, and your leaves become the thing that are lighter than the background, and the eraser pulls up the forms. Now, both of these work for whatever you're doing, but just know, sometimes graphite can be a little stubborn depending on how much you pushed into the paper, and it might not always lift 100%. But these are 2 ways of working in subtraction. So this can make a drawing go by way quicker, especially if you're painting, kind of like we said with Annie Stegg. You can essentially, on a very dark palette or dark canvas, lay on lighter green little accents everywhere, and they look like leaves, but you don't have to be edging every single one out. You just have to have a control of pressure when you're pushing the paintbrush along the canvas. Okay, so those are just some simple tips on drawing foliage. So let's go ahead and start doing these. So what are we at? 240? Perfect. Okay, so Josh, we're going to do a switch.
Oh, we're switching now? Goodbye. Everyone was talking too. So we came to the conclusion. Rachel said depth of field is what you were referring to earlier. When you're talking about the person. Okay. Oh my God. When you're talking about the person, trying to focus on one point, everything blurry around it.
Yes. I think this is a camera, or the photographer's term.
Yes,
that was
depth
the
of
one.
field. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you.
Okay. So I gotta hook my
Do you
phone
want to
up.
show the moth while you're setting that up really quick?
Yes.
Or do you want to finish off the stream?
I was gonna show it. Wait, what do you mean?
Not moth girl. Why did I keep saying moth? The fairy.
Oh no, I was gonna wait till I get my camera so we can see it.
Oh, okay.
So let's see here.
Hopefully this connects okay.
There has been problems in the past where my camera doesn't work right away with OBS. Ooh.
Oh, look.
It's
A
on
video of
Astrid
Astrid
Whipped.
popped up.
Okay, so we're gonna turn on my iOS camera. Oh, perfect. It actually worked right away.
Right. Don't you love when it just does that?
Doesn't happen often for me, but when it does.
We'll see if we get a third arm
you know
today,
what?
though.
I mean, most likely it's gonna happen. Are there any other comments while I set this up?
Rachel says Annie is such a wizard.
She is a wizard.
Dylan's asking me if I'm in pajamas. Yes. These are my winter pajamas. It's a little like skiing polar bear. Gotta be comfortable.
Gotta. During these tough times, gotta be comfortable. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, so here is the 300K drawing that I am working on and should be done by this Friday. This is the one that we started live on the stream with your guys' help creating the story for her on Saturday. Oh, you know what? The camera is like looking deadpan at the phone. I guess you guys can see my phone. That's okay. And we are almost done with it. So I'm going to be doing a giveaway that you can win this drawing for free. So I'm going to be giving this and shipping it to someone probably starting on Friday, and then we'll announce the winner next Wednesday. So if you want to win this Dark Fairy, she will be she will be won and given away starting on this Saturday.
That was a super fun stream to watch, everyone. Share ideas.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, I think you guys were really conglomerating on that one.
Ugh, I still hate that word. Oops. So, speaking of that, I do want to do another stream where we do these kind of concepting ideas together. I think when I hit 40,000 here on YouTube, you can see our subscriber goal. We're going to do a giveaway for YouTube as well, but for that stream, we're going to do a different concept, and we'll do it together live, kind of like what we did with that one, because it was a lot of fun, and the stories that were created were awesome, and I loved them. So let me move this out of the way. So now if you want to get out your pencils, your paper, your paintbrushes, whatever it is, we are going to go ahead and get started. We even have a timer this time. Bam, right there. Now the first one we're going to look at we're going to do a warm-up first. Do you have my keyboard?
Oh, yes, I do.
Could I borrow that?
Thank you. Do you want me to do the timer so that you can just get started at it right away?
Yes, I might need you to do the... Oh, let me move this over.
It's off to...
What the heck? Hold on. So yes, we'll be doing 10 minutes worth of warm-up, and then... Why is that? Oh, when it goes, does it do the thing?
Oh, like
if you type in 10 and then do it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's in the scooch. All right.
Okay, perfect. So basically for the warm-ups, you can find any images that you want on Pinterest or Google search. Just try specifically to find plants or things that you want to draw. I'm going to pull up ones for myself really quick before we jump into this. And kind of like what we did with the last one with the bird, try not to focus too much on details. Maybe if you want the last one to be more of a focus on detail, you can. But starting off, keep it more focused on shape, gesture, and if you want to do the more academic way of looking at shapes or values, looking at where light forms and shadow forms are, whatever is your cup of tea. I'm going to find... I don't like any of these. Pinterest, for once you're failing me. plant photos?
If you add the word cute, usually you can find some nice ones.
I think I might have to.
Yeah, cute plant photos.
Cute plant.
See, here you go.
Well,
This is quality right here.
let me see. No. Man, I thought this would have been easier to find. Plant references? Oh, you know what? These will do. Okay. Because once you find one good one, you can kind of just scroll down and there'll be plenty more good ones.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. So, Schwa, if you want to... I might give this power to you then. Let me see here. I just need the mouse for scrolling, but you can have this power. Okay, so all you do is press spacebar to start it. So I'll click over here when we're ready to go.
Okay.
Okay, so if all of you cool cat and kittens are ready to go, we're going to go ahead and start the timer. Ready? In 3, 2, 1, go. So now, when I'm doing more gestural studies of plants, I'm trying to, and mind you, I don't always do this the best, but I'm trying to quickly grab the gesture of the leaves. And sometimes it works, sometimes it looks really bad. But I try to look at how each leaf has a different shape to them. What?
I have this squeaky chair.
I know. That chair will squeak no matter what I do. Even if I just sit for too long, it'll squeak for no reason.
I'm too fidgety. All right, sit still.
And I try to be more romantic with the way I draw plants in the sense of all of them kind of have a flowy quality. They usually create this overall sense of how Renaissance painters used to paint their work. It almost feels like they are an accessory to a larger element. This one's got little cherries on them.
Ella, Josh, you should draw as well.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
Okay.
I still have yet to see a full... I mean, I guess I saw you do some of the sketches when you used to take your breaks during work back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
But I've never seen you do like a big drawing.
Oh, yeah, no. Never do that. I like making maps. That was always my thing. I always just drew maps for some reason. Dylan says, when do you think we could expect a new sketchbook?
So, okay.
It's coming.
The third one was kickstarted last June, and basically we've been in a weird development situation where they were ready to go in January, but then Corona happened and they got delayed. And actually, no, I had them done last August, but then my book publisher convinced me to do. Actually, can you grab it? It's in that closet.
Oh, is it?
A slipcase for the 3 books, so that if people wanted to buy like a special edition, they could.
Do you have the demo of the third one up here? Or
Yeah.
no, it's in here. Yeah.
So the 3 can be housed.
I can show while you draw if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
In this little slipcase.
There's this beautiful slipcase.
But the problem was they said that they couldn't make the books until I finished this slipcase, so that delayed
good,
everything.
There's the slipcase.
So now we're in this weird in-between phase where we're waiting for the Corona company, or the Corona company, the company in China to reopen its production once Corona simmers down a bit. So technically, the third book is done and ready to ship to you guys. It just has to be made, unfortunately.
And this has been edited too, I believe, because you changed the back. But then this is the third book. What that would look like. You got those gold gilded edges. And then the back, I believe Tim actually did some edits on too, because it just came out a little bit darker than
Oh yeah, and stupid.
the intent was, yeah.
So yeah, it is done, and hopefully whenever we know when this this whole situation blows over and production actually gets back in production, let you guys know. So the first one I should mention, I'm doing more of a line study. This next one I'm doing more of a shadow study. Now this is where you only draw the shadows in your image and illustration. So there are different ways to warm up. And I remember in college this used to blow my mind because I always thought that everyone had their one way of studying and that was the way that worked for them best. But there's actually a few different ways to do warm-up studies in different areas of your mind that you can test and challenge. What?
The Corona Company.
The Corona Company. As our friend Katie said, she doesn't have Corona, she has Corona Light. So that company would sell regular Corona and Corona Light.
And Corona Light.
Whichever one you fancy.
Everyone's drawn right now. Let me see.
Oh, everyone's so focused.
I know everyone's very focused.
I mean, that's kind of what these streams are meant for, so that's great. And then remember, you can post your results in the Discord. And it doesn't have to be all at the end. You can post even these little warm-up studies and go from there. I know I probably will post mine after the stream is over, just so we can keep everything moving here. So it's always a good challenge for me when I only draw the shadows, because I feel like it helps me see forms better. And it doesn't force me to focus on details, which I have a really bad problem with. I want to render and detail things out way too soon. So being forced to only focus on values, I don't really care about detail at all. So sometimes my stuff will come out a little more messy, but it gives the impression of what I'm drawing more. Or like this, I'm kind of locked into these edges. These can still be edited. It doesn't have any definitive edges really. And I can work with it. All right, what's our time? Oh!
Okay. Yeah, I'll do the 3 minute. It's 3 minutes, 30 seconds right now. But
Yeah, I'll find
actually,
one
double
more.
check the timer. If you could scooch it down. Kind
Oh,
of
really?
off. I don't know how
Oh!
it went up there, but.
Where'd you go? I missed you so. Why is it way up there?
I don't know why. It's so strange. Oh my.
What's going on?
Oh. It's that timer.
What happened? We're gonna reset this. Okay, my screen's gonna just turn into the Google thing for a second.
Do you want me to do the cropping?
Yeah. So you have to do each one down here. And then if it's too much, just undo it.
Okay.
Like that one obviously was way too much. Alright, I'll let you futz with that.
Yeah, I don't know why that went off screen though.
Alright, there you go. I have no idea. And then for my last study, I know you guys won't even be able to see it really. I'm going to do a mixture of both.
Oh, Simon, hello. I made it. I was moving around my room and totally forgot about the stream. You're all good?
Hey, Simon!
You're here now. That's what matters.
Oh, well, thank you. Oh, I can't see
I
it.
can't hang on. I know my free spirit.
Thank you, Free Spirit,
Thank
for
you so much.
subscribing.
I'm gonna put a little bell emoji in chat. Oh. Yes, Tim.
Beautiful, Schwab.
That looks
Beautiful.
good, right?
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Oh, thank you. Simon says, hi, Josh, that shirt is so cute. Yeah, Tim, this was a little surprise gift I got at, was it Anime Milwaukee?
Oh yeah.
Stay positive.
So in this one, you can kind of see I'm throwing in some values, but I'm also edging out. So this is usually the way I like to draw, probably the most, is a mixture of both shadow, focus, and edge control. But during warm-ups, you can draw however you want. There is no right or wrong way. Well, I guess the only wrong way would be not doing them at all. Because warm-ups are just to, get your hand into the motion of drawing, get prepared for your workday, whatever it might be.
20 seconds. We have a hello, I'm watching from South Korea. I'm also an artist. Your art is so cool. My English won't be perfect. I'm sorry about this.
Oh, no
no
problem.
worries. We're happy to
thanks
have
for
you here with
coming.
us. Yeah. All right, 5, 4,
Oh.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, that's right. It'll keep beeping until you press restart. So always do that. Right away, or else people are going to have to listen to it.
Good job, everyone.
So yes, if you want to post your warm-ups in the Discord, you can. And we're going to look at the 3 environments next. So if you want to pull up the image, I also have one on here. We were prepared today, let me tell you. Okay, so these are the 3 environments. So each environment we're going to spend 5 minutes on, no more, no less. Actually, I'm going to do them all on the same page. And then the last 2 we'll do about 20 minutes each. So they'll be nice, longer studies. Or no, let me see what are the ones I picked.
And just to confirm,
okay.
but you can get the full-size pictures on the Discord too.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so these are the 3 environments we're going to be thumbnailing. Like I said, no more than 5 minutes on each. Now, going back to how we talked about doing these earlier, it's all about blocking them out, not focusing on the details, looking at the shapes, and then figure out where that light source is coming from, and then angle your lights and shadows based on the direction of that light source. So if these little thumbnails are hard for you to see on the screen, like Josh said, you can find them on the Discord. I'm going to pull one up bigger for myself here. Actually, I'll just pull all 3.
Oh, Ella, thank you for posting the link in there. Ooh. This chair.
I gave you like the worst type of chair because you do fidget a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the power of the timer. So we're going to set it to 15. So if you could let us know when it hits 10 and 5, because that's when we're going to switch in between each thumbnail.
Okay. Oh, instead of just doing one at a time? Okay.
Just block it all in.
15.
So I'm literally going to draw little barriers here. Alright, so remember, focus on shapes, focus on form. Don't worry so much about details. Alright.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Go. Oops, can you record there? There we go. Alright, so for the first one, it's the one with the blue sky. Oops, I'm going to block this out better here. So when doing thumbnailing, try your best not to do any type of detail work if you can. If you have extra time, that's when you can go back in, but literally try to simplify everything on your scene into shapes. And then after you get a good sense of the shapes you created, then we'll go back in and start blocking out some simple values.
Zadric says, I may have picked too big of a pile of leaves. I'm thinking that was for the warm-up one.
Yeah, thankfully, the ones that I picked are pretty good for doing studies of, and we'll talk about each of them a little bit before we even start drawing, in case you're feeling a little nervous about it.
Dylan says, should you find tangents in nature, how would you approach them artistically if you're using it as a reference?
So this is where the trick question comes in, because like I said, you want to avoid them at all costs. But in nature, you'll find a few of them naturally. But I was always told, especially if you're a photographer, if you notice a pretty bad tangent in the setup you're going to be taking, just move the camera ever so slightly to get rid of that tangent. And since we have the power to recreate it in our own ability, I would say I would either move the leaf myself or draw it in a way that it doesn't tangent on itself. Because by eliminating as much as we can, it'll create a more pleasing looking image. But if you do have some tangents, like I said, they do naturally occur sometimes in nature. It just depends on your perspective of where you're viewing it. Because everything could be a tangent if you position yourself to view it in a way where it would have a tangent. So I always think of you as the camera or you as the artist moving around your image slightly so that you don't have as many tangents. That poor chair.
I know. I'm trying.
I think this is a sign that we should definitely use your other chair. Because even I hate this chair. I hate
Oh,
sitting
yeah.
on
It's like anytime you...
it. It drives me
I don't have a bony
nuts.
butt. It's like anytime I shift it, it's just instantly... Nate says, I'm trying to get back into drawing, but my skills in form have degraded severely due to artist block and work. Any advice for establishing a good way to reestablish drawing discipline? Or maybe a mindset to not get discouraged?
So easiest one would be just to make sure you draw every day. But then going from that, I talked a little bit on the last stream, is I used to be really good at this. I've slipped since I'm trying to finish the poker deck. But I used to time myself for it in hour spurts at a time where I would only focus on one thing. So that way you don't feel super dreaded with the idea of doing an entire illustration in a day, where you can just think, okay, I'm just going to put an hour in, and then once that hour is done, I won't have to think about it for the rest of the day. So it's an easy way for me to stay motivated on having a bunch of different projects, and I feel like we all can dedicate an hour. You know, it's a justifiable time frame to do some work. So if that helps you, it's something that's really helped me. I know some artists will do either half hour on, half hour off. That seems to work for them. But honestly, the biggest struggle most of us have when we're in an art block is just to get started. So I think having even things like this where it's warm-ups or they're not supposed to be taken as seriously, sometimes that gives us a mentality, what do I call them? They're throwaways. So we don't put as much care into them, so it's surprisingly easier to work on them because you don't have this level of expectation for yourself on them. Instead, you usually have more fun with it because you don't expect it to be anything grand. Sometimes I talk too much during these warm-ups and I'm like, oh, whoa, I gotta pick it up. We only have a certain amount of time left. Now, sometimes when I'm looking at this, I'll really focus on my values.
There's 30 seconds left.
Ah! Okay, I definitely fell behind on this one. I'll have to pick it up in the next two. But since these are just supposed to be warm-ups, and this really helps in artists like myself, and maybe a few of you feel this, where you gotta break out of that habit of focusing on detail too soon. Focus on the shape and composition. You know what? I have 3 seconds.
10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay,
Next
ready?
one.
Next one. So this one is the dandelion field. Same thing. Block it out. All right, let's see here. The candle just bubbled. Some trapped air in the bubble, or in the candle. So this one definitely has very prominent shapes. There's a giant block of dandelion fields in the first section. Now for this, I would probably draw a few of the heads of the dandelions in the foreground. And then as we get further back, kind of imply them with scribbles that sort of represent the top of flowers. But by giving a few of the more detailed ones in the foreground, you give the impression that the remainder of these scribbles moving back are also dandelion heads. What?
Oh, no, nothing.
Oh.
I was sneaking in some emails. doing some little work here too.
So for these trees, they're definitely the darkest part of the composition. So I want to make sure I include that.
It's like a nice little rain outside right now.
Actually, do you want to crack the window just a touch?
Oh yeah.
We hear just a little piddling of the raindrops, which is usually a pretty sound to listen to while you're drawing.
Oh, the birds are taking a break today.
Yeah, normally we have super noisy birds when I do the streams in the background. Whenever it rains, they hush.
Simon's asking, this question is a bit off topic, but as an artist coming up in such a social media world, numbers and likes and all, do you have any tips on not getting discouraged about those numbers?
So social media is a very interesting topic for me to talk about. So I myself didn't really have social media until I was 21-ish. So I didn't really have the pressure of trying to make it per se in the Instagram world that is now what everyone lives by. I honestly think Instagram is a huge blessing because it can obviously showcase a bunch of different artists and you get to connect with people who you probably have never would have considered. But the problem is it creates this specific look, this Instagram look that garners the most attention. And it's usually a female portrait, a pretty female portrait, and a very solid background, and not a lot of detail, just a very simplistic look at a female portrait. And that garners the most attention on Instagram, and I feel like that is starting to persuade artists to move in that direction. So it simplifies their work. It dulls it down, in my opinion. And if I could give any advice, and I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't sound like I don't want to like bring people down or make people discouraged, but create art that is obviously good. I know that might be kind of weird to hear, but I always think of the artists I talk to.
A minute left, just so you know.
I always talk to the artists who have been really successful in either online reputations or their sales are really good. And my one friend, specifically Pete Moorbacher, who does Angelarium, he talks about this a lot, where he has a lot of copycat artists, and he always tells me, don't worry so much about them, just always be better. And that's always a trait that I've carried with me is always be better. People will recognize good art, and even the best artists out there, if they start with a small following, if they keep creating amazing art, their following will just grow like crazy. So I would focus less on posting and hashtags and all that other garbage and just focus on making art that is undeniably good. Because once you focus on that, in the long run, you will get an Instagram following or whatever following you're trying to achieve. It just comes down to focusing on the work first and foremost. So yeah, try not to get discouraged by that. Focus on your skills.
All right, last one.
All right.
Last 5 minutes.
I feel like I have so many tips I could talk about. I gave an entire presentation at a workshop last year about gaining true followers, as I call them, rather than just garnering a large following count on social media. And a lot of it just has to do with the fact that, yeah, you might have a really large following count, but as in the case with that one girl who has a huge following count and then tried to sell sweaters and only sold 13 of them, or it was some really embarrassingly low number. And it was because she was garnering a lot of 13-year-olds that may be following her and people that like pretty things. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to sell things or people are going to buy from you. The reputation you want to garner is, well, if you want to make it financially as an artist, is establish this relationship where you're selling prints. People are used to you either selling prints, pins, books, whatever your merch is, and establish that relationship early so that when they do become older, they have more of a sense to want to buy things from you because they're used to that. So when I look at my advice for Instagram, it's make yourself into a business sooner than later, but don't start unless, well, this is so tough because
It's
I try to
really
make it
tough,
more of
yeah.
an individualized basis. So if I'm talking to someone, I can usually gauge where they're at in terms of their either skill level or how they're, how they're working in terms of trying to be a business. Because I don't think there's any too soon time to start. I think though a lot of these younger artists, especially 18-year-olds, they see what their heroes do. They have their own Etsy's, they have, all these, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't necessarily mean they should start doing it young uh, and expect the same results. And usually that'll garner a lot of disappointment. Because if I tried making my own shop when I was 18, and if I was disappointed that I didn't get any sales and not even my parents bought from me, yeah, I feel like that would be kind of a setback because my focus is not on making good work first. But once you start making good work, that's where I could have a lot more advice on when to use hashtags, how to hide hashtags in your stories, when is the best time to post, what is the best type of content that people are looking for, how does consistency work for your brand. There are so many things once you get to the point of making good work, but until you can honestly look at your stuff and think, yeah, this is good enough where I think people would buy it, and I can compare myself to artists that I consider great, and I would put my art right alongside theirs. Then you can start focusing on branding and all that other garbage. But I think until then, just focus on what you love to do. If you love painting, paint a lot. If you love drawing, draw a lot. Try to work as long as you can without the pressure of social media shoving down or having it be shoved down your throat, because that's when you start to paint and draw more true and more honest, and that's what people will connect with. It's not just the pretty girl drawings that, yeah, you might have a small chance of getting really popular just on drawing pretty portraits of females, but is that really who you are as an artist? Is that what you want to say as an artist? Is that what you want to be attributed to? There are some people that is what they love to draw. I mean, look at Ross draws and Loesch. They really like drawing female portraits. So that's their business. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be your business. And I talk to so many artists at cons, and this question comes up all the time. And I know, Simon, like I can talk to you more outside of this too, but I just feel that too many artists focus so much on garnering a fame success rather than a quality success. And my whole life, I've been taught to focus on the quality success, not so much on garnering fame or money. I think some people also focus too much on money. But I had another artist who told me, if you make good enough work, money is just a byproduct of making good work. So it all comes down to, in my mind, focus on making good work more than anything, and all the other benefits that you're probably looking for will come along. Anyways, I was talking way too much again.
25 seconds.
Ah! All right, thankfully we have more time for the actual studies because I am definitely too chatty Cathy right now.
Oh yeah, and Ella says, I think I'm lucky in the way that I have a low following, but the followers I have are true followers. I think, yeah, because those are the people that are going to be there through that entire process for you then, too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
We are at time.
Okay. So I probably talked too much during those. I should have focused a little more on my values. But these were warm-ups. Hopefully you kind of have more shape focused in your thumbnails rather than it being focused on the detail. Now, the only thing I wish I would have done a little more is in these little pockets, draw some more values. But I don't want to go over the time. And what are we at, 3:11? Perfect. Okay. Turn the page, do whatever you need to do to get ready, because we're going to do two 20-minute studies. Let me pull up these for myself first. So the first one we're going to do are the flowers in the field, and then we'll end on the pears. So the reason I picked these two images specifically, the flowers in the field, because I want you guys to focus on differentiating them and overlapping them so it doesn't feel like a monotone.
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel monotone and there's contrast in between them. And you can see how even in this photo, there's a lot of tangents that are being avoided because there's overlapping and the flowers are on top of each other. And then with the pairs, this is more of a very high focus beauty render study. Oh, that's what I meant to show. I forgot to show my examples on the Cintiq. Here, wait, really quick. I'll go back to my Cintiq for a second. Okay, really quick. So the two examples that I'm going to show. So these are examples of detail at a glance. You get the impression of what the artist is drawing, but if you zoom in, all of these flowers are just really rough looking shapes. And it gives the impression of flowers without having to individually draw every single flower, which is usually the trap I find myself in. Now, this style of rendering became very famous, obviously, during the Impressionistic era, Impressionism, and that's because it was giving the feeling or the impression of an object without having to fully render it. And it has kind of carried over into modern times with a lot of shape blocking, and this is the way that I would look at rendering a lot of flowers without losing the effect of it looking good. And then the other example with Annie's is she focuses on the foliage in the foreground and putting the most detail in those. And then as it fades into the background, it kind of bleeds into itself. The colors will kind of fade into itself. But there's enough blocking of random shapes that it still gives the impression that this character is in a forest. It's not in like a blue background. She's in a background full of lush foliage, and that's the illusion that Annie creates, which is fantastic. And then same with this girl in the bottom left here. It's the same thing we're going to be doing with our study, how you can see how the flowers are overlapping, but then there's different values. They're not all the same value, and that's what helps differentiate them one from the other. Let's see. And then this is from Justin Gerard, a clear example of detailed rendering. And that's what the pair drawing that we're going to be doing is along the same lines. Is we're looking at every leaf and every single thing is going to get highly rendered and detailed. So this is a good example of where everything is going to become rendered. But if we were doing a whole field of flowers, unless if you want to take a lot of your time, you probably don't want to be doing the detailed way of rendering leaves. You want to do more of what Annie did, or the artist that I found on Pinterest really quick, where at a glance they give the impression of a lush foliage field. Yes, and then these are more detailed, where every edge has like a lump, every leaf feels characteristically itself. There's a story, like even with this leaf on the sunflower that's a little rotten and eaten away. You know, there's more story elements behind it. All right, anyways. You know what? Actually, really quick, I'm going to go ahead. I need to use the bathroom really quick before we start this, or else I know I'm going to rush through this. I want to do a good job. So, Josh, take it away for a second.
Oh,
I'll be
yeah.
right back.
Oh, Candor, hello.
Oh,
Thank you
Candor.
for this. Yeah, I love this sweater. Isabel's great. Also, I just learned that Candor and I share the same birthday. I think she was born a year before me, but we both were born on the same day. And I think that's really cool because I love Candor. And Candor and I used to both have bleach blonde hair too. Candor, I think you still have it, right? I need to bleach again. Simon, I'm going to save your comment for when Tim gets back. Drea and Ella, you two are so cute. Very aggressive love. Yes, everyone's art's amazing. Yeah, everyone take a break right now, actually, because I think just take a sip of water. We got a 20-minute session coming up here. Oh, Candor, we're like twins. We're basically twins.
What did you do to your hair?
Oops, whoops. Why don't put stuff in it?
Okay.
All right.
1 second. I got to use this room.
Oh, yep.
Okay. All right, so is everyone ready to do the... Oh, you know what? Your 15 minutes screwed up again. Look at that.
Oh no, it's fine. It'll scooch. Oh no. Oh wait, it didn't scooch. What? It's something about when we put Photoshop up, it like
Oh, really?
changes
Here, wait.
it.
I can close Photoshop.
No, I don't know if that's gonna fix it now. It's something like when I think the screen goes over the other screen, it just.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, Josh is going to fix our little timer.
Fix it.
That's so weird. But yeah, if you want to get ready with me here.
We're just gonna go like.
Probably not as much. Oh, yeah.
Let's do like maybe 11. Oops. There
Wow,
we go.
good job, Shwa. Hi, everyone. Grab your pencils and let's do the garden. Shwa, if you want to set the timer.
All right, timer's ready. I'll click on that again for you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so we're doing 20 minutes, correct?
Yes, 20 minutes for each of these.
Okay.
Now remember, on this, the challenge is to focus on overlapping and having differentiating values throughout. All right. Oh, baby Astrid.
Okay. Oh, she wants to come in. Well, I'm gonna go use the bathroom once I start this timer, and I'll let Astrid in.
All right.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Beautiful.
Oh, let me grab Astrid. Come here, Astrid.
So since we have more time, I'm still going to try to work relatively quicker, but I'm going to focus on creating edges and adding values throughout. With the flowers, I'm going to keep relatively lighter in value, and then the area underneath some of the values, I'm going to push darker. And that's what's going to create this nice visual contrast. Oh, speaking of, while we're working on these studies, I was recommended by one of you guys to watch Making the Cut on Amazon. And I do like the show. It's with Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn. It's basically the new Project Runway. But I don't know if any of you else watched the show, but I feel like all the designs are the same thing. Me and Josh were joking that every time someone comes down the runway, the designer says the same thing for each one, where it's, you know, I try to make my garments and wardrobes genderless, and I try to have them fit any size and shape. It could be a size 2 to a size 16. And every single time they walk down, it's basically just a curtain that is sewn into a dress, and they have no shape. It is shapeless. And I know that that's kind of modern fashion right now. And I love Billie Eilish, but I feel like she definitely did start this whole trend of ambiguity or whatever, ambiguity in terms of what's underneath the wardrobe, which I like, but that doesn't mean that I just don't think all fashion then should just become these big cloaks and frumps. I still think you can shape it interestingly without it revealing the shape of the body, but having different shapes that are created. I'm talking about my disappointment with Making the Cuts designers.
Oh yeah.
Like, they're good people and it's fun to watch, but every time it comes on the runway. So this is for in every girl size from 2 to 16. It's genderless. I'm like, okay, yes, that's exactly what the last one just said.
Yeah, no, that was. I don't know. I feel like fashion can't just be like wearing a box. But,
Well, I mean, if that's what a couple of the designers want to do, that's fine. But when every single designer does that, it's kind of like, do you really have a voice, or are you just falling into the trend of what's current nowadays? Where usually when I watch fashion shows, you get a bunch of weirdos, and they're like going down their own path.
oh yeah, they're trying their new thing out. It just feels like it's very like safe fashion rather than.
Yes, that's a good way to say it.
Yeah. Let me just make sure I catch up on everyone's comments. I do not want to miss anyone. Alright. I do love that Kendra and I have the same birthday still. And like it took us this long to figure that out also.
I think that's great.
Rachel says, who are the artists from the page of the sunflowers?
So that is the one, all of the references I posted on Discord, except for the sunflower and the ones that I really like, because I don't know how to pronounce the name, so I can link it in the Discord after. It's that one.
Oh, that one.
I
Okay. I was gonna say,
I have a
look it
bunch of
up,
them
but-
saved on Pinterest, so I know I could find it. So I will post on the Discord after.
Do they primarily just do pictures of flowers?
Yeah.
I love that.
I know. When they're so good. I think they legit do field, what are those called? Field guides?
Yeah.
I think they literally do that.
It's Astrid.
Astrid the cat.
Hi, Astrid.
If you want, you can open it more because she likes sitting a little above it.
Oh, yeah.
So Astrid has this terribly this terribly addicted, incredibly needy sense for wanting to go outside. And she's not allowed. So she gets really frustrated with us because we never open the doors for her.
I think we let her out last summer for a couple days just for fun, but we like monitored her the entire time, and I think she got spoiled by that too much, where she thinks
did get
now that
spoiled by
she
that.
should go out whenever she wants. So
I regret it because I even got her a leash, but she hated the leash. But now all she wants to do is go outside.
Fem says she'll go to sleep, but it is so nice here, and it's a perfect background for me to work on.
Oh, well, thank you, Fem.
But please also make sure you get sleep if you need it.
Yeah, go to
If your
bed.
body is telling you, I need sleep right now, Fem, please, please, I want sleep.
What?
Oh, I'm just reading comments, sorry. Some of them are just like between each other, so I don't want to like read those out loud.
Oh, gotcha.
Drea says, oh yeah, I get it. It's like no personality, and like how hard is it to design? How hard was it to design a wearable bag? That's
I'm
kind
assuming
of,
you've
yeah.
seen it then, because most of them look like bags.
Yes.
Or bags. I can't pronounce it right.
Well, and then none of them know how to sew. And I guess for me, I get like a lot of designers, they just do the sketch of it, and then someone's able to create it, I guess. But a lot of the people just are able to sketch their design, but like they can't even sew or do basic, to me, I guess basic in terms of fashion stuff, creating it. It's really interesting to me. But I guess I understand a lot of people too, like they don't.
That's why it's weird, because usually most artists will have, or most designers will have a seamstress that work for them, and they just pin the fabric for the seamstress. But if I was going on a show where it's fashion oriented and there's a chance to win $1 million, of course I'm going to learn how to sew myself.
Right, and the description is you actually are going to be making most of your pieces yourself. And then the seamstress just comes in to do hemming, stuff like that. That's maybe a little bit more not...
Well, no, the seamstress do most of the sewing. So they do most of the pinning, the designers do.
And then the seamstress is doing the
But
sewing.
what's weird is they hand them off to the seamstress in a bag overnight. They don't even talk to them.
Yeah.
So then some of the designers, they get their stuff back and they're like, oh, I guess they didn't work on it. I'm like, well, that's not fair.
Because the one time it was super unfair because the guy apparently he bagged both of their, because they have to do a runway piece and then an accessible look.
Mm-hmm.
And he bagged both of them in the same bag. And apparently the seamstress just was like, oh, I'm just going to do one of these.
Yeah.
And then really didn't do the other one. Because
Like,
apparently
well,
they
that's
have to
kinda
bag them
crappy.
in separate bags. Yeah.
So I don't know. If any of you have seen this show, we caught up. We watched all of it last night. We're like, okay, well, episode 1 was a little rough, but we'll keep giving it a try. Who knows? But they never seem to get better. But they're good people. Like I enjoy watching them and hearing them talk about where they came from, their lives. But the actual designs are just not my favorite.
Astrid's such a sweet little baby is what Kinder said. She is so good.
You're a sweet little
I
baby.
love her so much. Oh, Fem keeps switching between the 3D software and stream chat, so from time to time I save, but I forget I'm on the stream, so I save the browser instead of my work. Ella asked, why isn't she allowed to get out?
She would run.
Yeah. No, I don't think... No, she'd come back. I know she'd be one of those
She would probably
cats.
come back.
She'd come back. My fear with Astrid is, though, she's not very aware of her surroundings. I've had a lot of other cats in the past, and usually they're aware enough of, like, they know what's going on around them. Astrid just gets very unaware of things sometimes. So I just get afraid she'll get hit by a car or something like that. Plus, we live by a pretty busy street, so I get scared that she's gonna go over there. I don't know. We live in a neighborhood, so there's a lot of cars and people around. I also have a fear of someone taking my cat. Because Astrid's really cute, and she's gonna be sociable with everyone.
She's very sociable.
Yeah.
And Astrid has never like hissed at anyone or bit anyone. Unless it's like play fighting, but that doesn't actually hurt or anything. Yeah, Astrid's one of the best cats.
Kendra says, imagine listen to your body when it wants to sleep. Yeah, that was a really hypocritical statement of me because I never listen to mine, but if you're tired, you really should sleep. Just putting that out there.
Giving tips on how to go to bed. Goes to bed at 5 a.m.
But yes, make sure you get good sleep. Oh, Kendra says this sketch so far gives me a lot of Ghibli vibes, like La Puta.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only like scratched the surface of what I need to.
Oh, Fem says I don't need to sleep. I'm not tired, but it's just going to be more painful in the morning when I have to get up for work, for my internship.
Yeah, don't stress it too much. I appreciate you being here, but not at the cost of your own health and or sanity.
All right, we're at the 10-minute mark.
Ah.
Elena, I would think. Yelai, right? Alina? Alina? Yeah, late to the convo, but I don't like it when I've seen a couple of shows where they celebrate the shape of the female body by putting them in tents. It's very true, because I feel like even if you're larger, skinnier, I feel like there could be something that's made for that body type when it comes to fashion, and I feel like now it's, just making it a box, and I feel like that's just not...
I feel like right now we're celebrating the lack of humanity. So by doing that, we're going to make all of our models look like aliens. We're going to make them look as unhumanistic as possible. But it's weird because I do like the movement and the idea of we don't have to conform to showing off a female body. A lot of women maybe don't want to show off their bodies. Kind of like how men usually get the privilege of just wearing like baggy clothes all the time. Mm-hmm. Where women seem to have this expectation put upon them where they're supposed to show a certain amount of shoulder, of leg, of cleavage, whatever it might be. And obviously, men don't have that same pressure. So I like that fashion is kind of going and showing the both routes. But I think there's a better way we can be doing it without just draping a giant piece of fabric with a hole on the top and then calling that a dress. It just seems not avant-garde and not in the type of field I am interested in.
I mean, it almost feels like it's more uncomfortable because it's so like uncomfortable to walk around with too.
Yeah.
I always feel bad watching the models use them because they're just like...
Remember the one that didn't have a slit on the dress? She was like walking
she was
down the runway.
Little steps at a time. I'm going to quickly grab some catnip for Astrid.
Also, I should note, 2 of the contestants basically eliminated themselves on this show. It seems like there's a lack of passion. And to me, I'll go on the show. If they don't want to go on the show, I'm not even a seamstress or someone that works in fashion, but I would try harder than half of the people on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Like, come on, give me some... The reason I like these type of shows is they have a level of competition where you can just see the passion in these people's eyes, and they want it so bad. And even if it's something that is not familiar to me, like I watch Face Off, I watch Paint Wars, I watch Skin Wars, I watch all of America's Next Top Model, I watched all of Project Runway. I like these type of shows because I like surrounding my background noise with very passionate people. It re-inspires me. So watching this show, I'm like, none of these people care. Oh, bastard baby.
Yep. She always likes to do it there.
She does not want attention right now.
I'll put it up here for you. Astrid.
Okay, so since we have about 10 minutes left, I'm going to block out a few more of these, but then I'm going to get into rendering because usually I'll do a soft block rendering of flowers like this, then I'll go in and do more of a harder rendering detail. Oops.
Sorry for the sounds there.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Yeah, where are we at?
We are at 6 minutes left.
No, I mean with the comments.
Oh, that's what I was catching up on. Fatima says, I've only seen the most recent season so far, but I really like the Great British Showing Bee. There are some really great designers on there.
Showing bee? Like
Yeah,
Bake
the
Off?
Great British Showing Bee. Yeah, kind of like the Great British Bake Off, but it's Sewing Bee.
Oh, I've never even
That's
heard
cute.
of this.
Also says, Elena says also, yeah, it's like I get not wanting to make them overly sexualized, but I don't get the logic of celebrating a shape by hiding it behind a square tent.
Yeah, is that what Elaine said?
Yeah, no,
Elena.
yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a very confusing message for people too right now, because there's two different ways of looking at it. I think it's just people should be able to, I guess, just wear what they want.
Well, I think designers should try to create something that's new and fresh. And if that's the mentality of the current trend of we want to celebrate and empower females without having to showcase them in a sexual manner, that's fine. Like if that's what people want to do, but do it in a way that feels fresh and new and exciting. Because just draping a giant piece of fabric, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And then to see every single person on the show do the same thing, it's like, you got to have your own voice and style if you are a fashion designer, especially if you're a fashion designer.
Fem says, who would catnip Astrid? Oh, yeah, I would. Yeah, a lot of people would catnip Astrid. She's so sweet. She'd make friends with all her neighbors. Kendra says, fair point. Astrid is beautiful and so sweet, plus cats that have never been outside often lose themselves. Yeah, I just get so scared. I don't know.
I mean, when we get a fence, we'll let her out.
Like those moments where you just think about situations, how they could go really wrong. I've legit thought about situations with Astrid where she would run away. It scares me. Anthony says, can I ask what the deciding factor was that made you choose to be a traditional medium artist?
So I've worked with pencils my whole life, and then when I went to school, it was primarily for digital art. So I learned Photoshop, and I learned how to 3D model and program. And I always was doing pencil drawings in between all of this. And whenever I was in classes, I would always doodle on the homework or whatever I was working on. So it wasn't until I was working with CG Cookie for a while, doing tutorials and all that stuff for a while. And eventually I showed one of my pencil pieces, and then someone said, oh, you should make tutorials on that. So I started doing some, and they were received pretty well. But then I started doing conventions a lot, and at one convention, I decided to show off my pencil drawings. Or no, I take that back. I did a pencil drawing during a really bad time in my life, and I didn't want to do it digitally. I wanted it to be all pencil, and I wanted there to have this deeper meaning, and I felt like the best way to do it was in grayscale. And I got triple the reaction I did on that image than I normally do with my digital. And I realized in that moment, oh, there's a market for pencil. And then I went and met Alan Williams, my art hero, and his whole booth was pencil besides a couple oil paintings. And then it started to sink in. I can make my entire career based off of pencil art. And that's, I guess, where it went from there. And I really haven't looked back since because it's been such a nice ride. But that's not to say it'll work for everyone. I think as much as I love pencil, I think it is a struggle because people will always see pencil. I mean, I feel like the stigma is starting to lessen a bit more now in the past few years, but there's still this stigma that it's unfinished. It's the underdrawing for a painting or something. So there is a little bit of stigma that I still fight, but I love pencil so much.
Yeah, conventions are fun sometimes. People always be like, "Oh, can you color these in?"
Oh yeah, when are you gonna finish it?
Yeah. What? Dylan says, "I think that we as a community need more pictures of Astrid in the Discord." I try to at least put one in the pet pics thing a day, but there have been some really cute pictures. Ella just posted one, and then Shampoo.
Yeah, I looked at those.
Yeah, I love this cat. Just plopped down. We'll just have a bunch of sleeping cat pictures on there. Candor also had a giggle. I had a giggle also says, Josh, you tired? I do those spin ups when I'm tired. Yeah, I'm actually a little sleepy today. Admittedly, I fell asleep like 10 minutes before the stream started, so I kind of went into dreamland for like 2 minutes and then popped on stream. I feel better now. I don't know. I think it's just because I don't always have much to do lately. With no conventions, so it's like I feel like my days are kind of sometimes stretching to find things to do. But I've been crocheting and playing Animal Crossing, so that's been good. We're down to 10 seconds.
Ah! Oh man, I feel like I messed with myself not making these a little longer. Ah! Okay, so if you couldn't tell the last like 5 minutes, I was going in and edging and adding shadows to add more depth and layers to it. Because before that, it looked like a messy, there's kind of visual noise, but as you go in and add more values, you push and pull the viewer's eye on where you want there to be more depth. So basically, I would just do this, bigger and larger to do the whole scene. Now, if you can tell though, that took a long time just to get to here. And I probably would have gone a hair faster without streaming, but honestly, this is pretty similar to the pace I would probably go for something like this. And it would take me a while to do this. That's why I wanted to pick a few of the flowers to hopefully help you guys see overlapping quite a bit and maybe practice it, but then also notice how long something like this could take if you're not simplifying the shapes. So this was more a practice in patience, really. So our next one, we're going to do the pear drawing. Let me move this. Right there. There we go. So now the pear drawing, focus on the details in the texture. So look at the way that the pear has little spots. Look at the leaves and how the veins look down it. Look at how things are overlapping and how the shadow is more of a soft shadow. And the bottoms of the pears, how they have those little trickles of, I don't know what you would call them, but the little foliage that's hanging off of it. So that is what we want to focus in the last 20 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and show off some of your guys' creations if you post on the Discord.
There's been some good ones in there.
Have there?
Yeah. We've been
yeah.
in, right? We even got some cute, I think Drea had her warm-up ones in there even too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, guys, keep posting in there because it's great.
Yeah, we'll definitely do the showing off after this. The pears have been the ones I've been most excited to draw, so I saved it for last. You know what? I might just do this on your page. I'm trying to fit it in the corner here. We're just going to go ahead and make this work. Okay. Hi, Shua. Start us off.
All right. I'll click back to your picture right away, too. All right.
And could you move my picture
we have
like
to put
here?
the pear up on the screen for everyone.
Oh, yes. It is that one.
There we go.
There we go.
All right. There's the pear. Everyone will give you like 10 seconds to prep. All right. 5, 4, 3,
Ready.
2, 1.
Okay.
There we go.
So in this one, I'll probably do a light general edging, or not edging, a shape gesture of the pears and where they're placed. I'll do some of the leaves and then a little bit of the branch and then get right into some hard rendering. So this is the type of drawing study that I get really excited about because this has such a focus on rendering, where the previous ones were more focused on shapes, and I wanted there to be a mix of both. So even though usually the environment ones and doing things from afar aren't really in my comfort zone, I think it's good to challenge ourselves and then to show how we can simplify things so that they're not as challenging.
Eric Diva says, in regards to the woman standards, I find it interesting is the power imbalance has been going on for so long that a lot of alternatives perhaps is really just stumbling in the dark. Yeah, maybe it'll
Oh,
find
yeah.
direction. Yeah.
I think eventually it'll find its way. I think we're in this weird middle ground of figuring it out. And then seeing it live on television, I think, is more of a weird... like, you're seeing it struggle to find its place.
Well, I feel like the fashion industry's been ridiculed for so long, too.
Yeah, very true.
Beginning some of those standards and how people should dress. So I feel like they're kind of trying to find a way to be relatable now to everyone, while also feeling like it's still exclusive or
Cool.
designer. Yeah, make it feel like it's more pricey. Unique says, what kind of fence do you want to get that you'll think it'll keep the cat in? We're gonna get like a big wood fence.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, she doesn't try to jump over too many things.
She can climb walls occasionally, but she's not done that in a while. And I think she's put on too much weight now that she can't do it. So that's probably good, because she used to climb walls.
I think she would just be happy being outside. And there's so much activity in our backyard that I don't even think the idea of jumping the fence would occur to her. I mean, maybe, and then we'd have a bigger problem on our end.
Kendor said maybe a little catio, like an area where she can be outside and feel the grass, but won't be able to escape. Didn't we just see one of those catios?
Mm-hmm, because we were told about this on the last stream. Or no, a few streams ago, we were introduced to a catio.
It might have been you, Kendor, because yeah, those are so cute. It's like their own little outside section. I mean, I would love to like build it onto the house where she could just go on her own pleasure. I've become a cat person.
Yeah, I think you've kind of convinced me to be more of a cat person. They're just great. I mean, I grew up with horrible cats at my friends' houses, so that I had the worst impression of cats.
Oh, there's some mean cats out there, yeah.
Yeah.
Rachel says, I miss it sometimes. There's just a ton of drama in the film biz that kind of sucked the joy out of it.
Out of what?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Rachel. That was a conversation that she was having with Candor.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. That's why it didn't make sense. I'm sorry.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Eric Ziva says, a cat is also kind of a menace to the nature around it when they don't have natural enemies. She probably would just like tear things up. She likes. I think the one time she went out, there was a bunny in the yard, and she ran really quick. Yeah, that scared me because I didn't know where she was heading off to. Oh yeah, and then Dylan's shampoo. So that was the kitty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, on Discord. Yeah, that was from Dylan, and that kitty's name is Snow. She's rather round. I love big round kitties, especially when they plop. It's just like, poop. Everything sprawls out. Candor Dreamland is a place with long dangling arms and pulling you in so hard sometimes. Fem says a bit sleepy, maybe because you were in PJs. It's just too comfortable. Probably. And they say, like, when you're in these situations where you're at home all the time, to still get up and get dressed and follow a routine. So that's probably something I should start doing. Yeah, there's this one YouTuber I follow. She lives in New York or something, but she's just like a life tips kind of person. And she talked about where having a routine every morning still, like having your breakfast at a set time and changing even at a specific time is really helpful to keep you feel like you're completing things throughout the day. Because especially if you don't necessarily have much to do during the day, I think having basic tasks that feel like a task completed make you feel like you're actually doing stuff throughout the day.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So even the act of changing, you feel like you're actually like checking something off for the day, like you're completing that task. Especially for people that are, staying at home or don't have a job right now, I think it helps to feel like those are things throughout the day that you're doing.
So then how do you get by?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, one of my tasks is to not change, so I mark that off every day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then take a nap 2 hours after you wake up.
Yes, that's
check.
Check. Yes, exactly. Complete. The day doesn't feel right without those. Oh, Candor's trying to get a Switch to play Animal Crossing. Oh, and hubby's so excited for it too. I know, I think that's actually been helpful for a lot of people, especially me right now. Because you feel like you're getting tasks done. Actually, that's my task. Animal Crossing has tasks in it. You're doing things, you're collecting, selling, building.
I mean, I know my big breakthrough for this whole weird indoor time will be this weekend with Final Fantasy VII.
Oh my goodness, yeah, you're...
I'm either going to do a thing where I beat it all in one weekend, or I'm going to play it the way that I played Final Fantasy XII recently, where I'm going to talk to every non-playable character all the time, and that will take way longer to complete, because I heard there's a lot in this game. So maybe I won't beat it this weekend, but I'm hoping it'll last quite a while if I don't end up just trying to beat it straight this weekend.
I just don't want to miss someone. Dylan Acadio is really great if you attach it to a window so they can come and go as they want into their own little place.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I would love that. Because then
pretty good
I don't
idea.
have to deal with her yelling at us all day.
Yeah. But she just sits by the back door window and just meows all the time.
Hang on, I feel like I just want to make sure I didn't miss something from Anthony. I asked because when I do traditional, it has more of a personality. I'm worried about committing to a traditional because digital artists dish out more work. That was in relation to what made you choose traditional.
Okay, yeah. That's very true. I know that people would probably hate me saying this, but digital tends to have a lot of ways where you can make it quicker. And as much as we want to say, and I agree, digital is its own medium and it has its own disadvantages and struggles, and there's a lot to it that it takes a lot of talent and creativity. But as a whole, it is technically easier than doing traditional medium because of the fact you can correct things or edit things or even photo bash or whatever it is very, very easily. Where with traditional pencils, if you mess up a proportion of an arm after you fully render it, there's even a possibility that you might not be able to fix it fully because the graphite is so embedded in the paper. And then the same thing goes for painting. If you mess up an oil painting and the proportion's off, you either have to paint over the paint or wait for it to dry and then completely edit that way. But in digital, if you mess up a proportion, you can just open the liquify filter and in 1 minute have a whole new proportioned arm. So, like I said though, I'm not going to try to say that digital artists are weaker than traditional artists, but I will say the medium itself is easier to work with than traditional medium for the most part. And I agree with you that yes, you will probably be able to create way more work with digital than you could traditional if you're as slow as I am. But there are some really quick traditional artists out there too. So it's not like every traditional artist has to be the slow grandma pace way of working. I mean, I try to pump out a lot of work, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm drawing all the time at night. We usually are watching a movie or a series of some kind, and I'm always drawing. So if you want to take a traditional route, just know you might have to invest more time into it than you would with digital. But digital sometimes can also catch artists off guard because of working with color can be very frustrating. And actually, I have a whole color course if you want to do and understand color better. I have a whole color course. And it's honestly what I would consider one of my best recorded tutorials that I've done. I'm very proud of it. But yeah, it is kind of a struggle starting off as a traditional artist because of like what you said, it'll take longer to build up a portfolio. But one thing I want to say is I've always believed in quality over quantity. And this is definitely a personal opinion. I think I can see why artists argue the other side, and I'm not even saying they're wrong. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but in my mind, I've always believed in quality over quantity. And even though I've probably done less work than a lot of these digital artists that can pump things out so quickly, I think I'm able to garner more reaction for each thing that I do because of the fact that I'm focusing or I'm trying to create something that is of quality and not just a quick spit paint of something and just wanting to push it out. So yeah, just know that there is a struggle, and it's something that you'll probably have to face. But it's okay. It's been worth it for me. It's worth it for a lot of my friends that work traditionally, and it can definitely be worth it for you.
Um, oh yeah, Simon, I totally forgot to go back to this because it was when you're in the bathroom. Simon had responded to when you talked about the likes on social media and
Oh
getting a
yes.
following, but he just wanted to say that was something I honestly really needed to hear. Lately, I've definitely been trying to push myself into my art. Kind of why I stopped doing hyperrealism. Also, love to talk about it for sure.
Yeah, I social media is such an interesting thing for me to talk about, and I think that's why I was brought on to talk about it at the One Fantastic workshop. Is because even though I have somewhat of a following on Instagram, I try not to let that dictate what I draw, because I know the things that get me a lot of reactions are things with a lot of hands and then pretty girls with horns. And I could just easily go down that route and only draw that kind of subject matter, but inside I would die. I would not be happy with myself. And that's not to say that every artist feels that way. Like I said, I've even met Loesch and Ross. They enjoy what they do and they enjoy drawing that. I personally couldn't do that because I want to explore, drawing like a weird creature, the Dirt Kid. Sometimes my stuff's more comedy, like animated looking. And I like to explore those different paths. But if if you're finding with your art that you are not satisfied with it, I often find it's usually because we feel we're not giving our true selves to our work. And we're trying to cater and edit who we are, what we want to create, based on what we know will garner more of a reaction. So just remember, drawing what you want to draw, even if you have more of a niche crowd, you'll gain more true followers because you're being different and you stand out amongst the crowd. And they say this on that Making the Cut show all the time, something along the lines of standing out, oh, something amongst the noise.
I can't. I don't know what you're
You know what I
talking
mean,
about for
though?
that. Standing
Oh,
out amongst the crowd. I don't know.
they mention it a lot on the show on how does your sense of design stand out amongst the noise or whatever they say.
Oh yeah.
And I think the same could be said for art. How is your stuff different and saying something new in the art world that hasn't been said before? Or are you just creating something that you see a popular artist do and you try to recreate it in your own voice? And as much as it's okay to, do that while you're studying and learning and getting better, eventually you got to find your own voice and your own qualities of creativity that you're bringing to the table in the art world, or else you probably won't get recognized in the manner that you want to be, and then your success will feel hollow. And I'm telling you this because I have a lot of friends that battle the same thing, and even myself, I've played the game, as it's called, where you create art specifically to garner reactions, or you create art that you know will sell well as a print. And yeah, it might sell well, but you sometimes you feel kind of dirty about it, and you don't feel that great selling it either. So it's a double-edged sword because you get what you want, which was your financial gain, but you don't get what you need, which is your own personal satisfaction with what you're creating. And I think that's a struggle for a lot of artists. And I think Instagram doesn't help with that as much as I love it because I'm on it at least an hour a day. I'm just checking out new artists, I'm responding to messages, which isn't often. I'm posting myself, and I'm looking in the search. I'm looking for new artists that are up and coming and maybe unheard. So as much as I love it, I think it has a lot of drawbacks in the way that people use it in terms of catering then their work to it. All right, end ramble.
Kinder says I'm working from home in general, not because of the pandemic, and I do get dressed and make coffee and everything, routine stuff. I sure would not have to get dressed. Yeah. I think having a routine would be helpful. Well, it's funny because I was really getting a routine right before this all happened.
Yeah, you were.
Especially because it's like I just quit my, I worked corporate jobs for really, I guess, 8 years before I started working for Tim. So I have been used to having kind of a routine, and I work my 8 hours, set lunch breaks. So it's like finally I quit that. I'm working for Tim. Obviously, that was a big adjustment for me because I wasn't used to like having a little bit more freedom with my schedule. But I feel like I was getting a hang of my day and scheduling and doing stuff, and then this all happened, and then it kind of because a lot of my what I'm doing throughout the day is prepping for conventions, doing prints, printing, packing, all that. So that was like a huge portion of what this new job was for me. But I feel like I'm getting a hold of doing more things now. I mean, emails are still what I'm doing at Etsy and stuff, so I kind of still routine those into my day, but definitely
is tough.
I have a lot more free time right now that I don't know what to do with all the time. Yeah, FM2.
4 minutes.
Oh yeah, 4 minutes. I was gonna do the 5-minute mark, but you were talking. I don't know why it's like interrupting. Sometimes.
Oh, you're okay. You're okay.
I've been keeping up the same morning ritual and dressing up as if I had to go to my internship, and it really helps me to feel more energized and ready to work. Yeah, I think it just helps you feel like you're going somewhere, you're doing something, there's a purpose for getting dressed, whether it's even just staying home all day. It still feels like your day is a little more purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I still would be wearing pajamas.
You're like listing all the benefits, and then meanwhile, in pajamas,
Right? Because I watch this YouTube channel, and she's all about these life things, and I do actually adopt some of them, but I mean, I'm gonna get changed, and then literally when I get cold, the second I get cold in the house, I'm gonna be like, well, sweatpants don't do that.
I'm going to be hearing about this where Josh is like, yeah, she talked about how sleeping more throughout the day can help to a more productive lifestyle. So I think it's just best if I nap
I'm just gonna
2 or 3
look
times
for
a
a
day.
specific YouTuber that preaches that message.
Find studies that specifically cater to
Yeah.
the results that you want.
I mean, cats seem pretty happy and healthy, and they nap all the time. Candor, I do that too. I go to nap shortly after waking up. It's just, I mean, the bed is there. Why not use it? Basically, and especially because you're already comfortable.
Argument.
It's usually ready to go. Candor, I mean, we do not want the Switch just for Animal Crossing, but it does. But it was a point for the hubby agreeing to getting one.
Hey.
Yes. I want to get that exclusive Animal Crossing one, but not right now. The colors are really good though, and it will go good with that little Switch bag I have. Luna says, it's funny you say digital is faster because it's a total opposite for me. I'm quicker traditionally, and digitally it takes centuries to finish anything.
Yeah. Well, because I always think, I mean, usually if it's pencil, people can create it probably faster because they're not focused on color. But if you were doing an oil painting and then doing the same thing digitally, it's almost always going to be longer in the oil rather than the digital.
Candor says, I'm such a slug with traditional, like a watercolor illustration often can take 1 to 3 months from sketch to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Watercolors
watercolor is tricky.
Those scare me.
You even do art. You say it scares you.
Yeah. I feel like could mess up very easily.
I mean, yeah, that's why when I've tried watercolor, it's tricky. I have to admit, it's not my favorite medium to work with, but I highly respect people that work in it.
Amy says, I just wanted to let you know. Oh, hi, Amy. By
Hi,
the way.
Amy.
Hello, I just wanted to let you know that my cat is watching your stream very intently.
Does she like pears by chance?
We're at a minute left.
Oh my gosh, no.
You got this.
No.
Kendra says, I could not agree with you more about the true followers. I always tell people to please only follow me if they like my art. I only draw what I want and feel, besides commissions, of course.
Yep. I mean, that's the way to really earn success. It's not by garnering the number, but by garnering the amount of true followers that you will gain. Oh, crud. I'm almost out of time. Ugh, I may work on this a little longer after the stream. No. Ah.
All right, pitch time.
Ugh. I love doing hyper studies like this. But clearly, I wanted to add some more time. So I might work a little bit longer on this after. But if you could right now post on the Discord what you created, we'll do a quick show off of some of your creations, and then we'll cut the stream. Whew, there's a lot. I feel like I'm out of breath just from how much I was trying to talk. Because I was organizing a lot of my thoughts about 2 hours before the stream, and then we had our friends stop by because they needed a poster, but we didn't like touch or hug or anything, you know. But I talked to them for a little bit, and then my mom called was like, oh, are you streaming? I was like, no, but why would you call now if you know that I stream on Wednesday? She's like, well, I know that you stream, but in case you didn't, I figured you would just not pick up if you were streaming. I was like, well, then why wouldn't you just call later in the day anyways?
Mrs. Vaughn's my favorite person ever.
Whew, love her. But then I talked to her. So I feel like I was a little scrambled figuring things out, but now we're good.
No, this looks good. They look so tasty.
I know I can give it a solid pass on the rendering edging, and I know it'll look even better. It's always exciting for me when I can look at my art and be like, oh, I know it can look better. And I know how to do it too. I don't know if any of you get that kind of jittery feeling of like, oh, I can't wait to tackle this because I know I can improve upon it. Although it's funny, I was drawing at this angle here, so things look a little more in proportion, but when I look straight up, this one kind of looks like an eggplant. It's like a swoop to it. Might have to fix that just a touch.
Well, I'm excited to see what's on Discord then too. Everyone's posting.
Okay, then let's switch again because I'm gonna pull up my Cintiq and we'll show them all.
Oh, because you can go through the Discord on there.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see here.
Actually, I'm gonna lower this just a little bit.
It got cold.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that. Okay, so let's move this pair out of the way. Move the timer. Okay. So let's see what you guys did here today. Move it to the center here. Ooh, okay. I can definitely see working on different ways of rendering. I like the study how you're focusing on the shape, and then the last one you're trying to focus on the highlight and shadow. So good job, Drea. Yeah. So then this is a good example where I still want you to block big solid chunks of value. I mean, mine's not to speak on how well I did because I definitely feel like I rushed mine a touch. But for yours, yeah, I would definitely focus on laying out shapes and even mid-tone values because right now it looks like a ink way of doing studies where it's either black or white. So yeah, work on those mid-tones. And then Luna says, plants are definitely not my forte. This is pretty good though. Honestly, for someone who's not comfortable with it, this is a good start. I think for you, it's just going to be focusing more on practicing doing renders and looking at blocking out large shapes, kind of like with Drea. Unix says, I'm incredibly lost with landscapes and plants. Please send help. So I think a good thing for you to try is you kind of did it on the left example, but look at the shadows and lights and try to render things in that way. Because with the middle and the right one, I can kind of tell you're blocking it, which is okay, but I think you get a little lost on where to put the value. So I think a good study challenge for you would be focus on where the shadows are and make sure you definitely block those in pretty heavily. Okay, Zad. Definitely not scared to use all the tones here. Well, this is a good warm up for a landscape. This is like I can feel the scenery. You got the foreground elements in there. I can tell your object to focus was the tree because it's has the most contrast and value. So yeah, that's a good warm up. Very simplistic. I can see in the first one you realized maybe you ran out of time, and then in the next two you like diversified it better. So good job on that. I think the challenge I would put for you is to make a little more defining shape so I can tell. Like in the far right one, I don't know if I would be able to tell it's a landscape. The middle one I could tell those are trees on the right side, but just keep pushing more of those shapes. A dream. So in this case, I think what might be beneficial for you is trying to edge with not as heavy as a line and focus more on having, you know what, I'm going to quickly, this is one of those examples I know I could show better than tell quickly. So in this case, instead of having an edge to every single petal, instead use the lighter value to act as your edge. See how it like butts up right against that shadow area? And it immediately creates an edge without having to draw an edge. It's kind of the beauty of working with a medium such as this. And even where some of the values might be similar, I would still butt them up pretty close to one another. And then maybe this flower in the foreground is a little lighter. And same with down here. So don't be afraid to edge things without actually having line art, because then even, here's another good example back here, where you can have 0 line art, and it almost creates this better edge where it looks like it's more free, where sometimes line art, and I do this to myself too, so I totally get it, line art can feel containing and not as free. There's like limits to it. Where I think when you're doing digital painting like this, where it's very blocky, I would focus on not so much on line, but blocking in your values. Okay. What did you say? Luna, definitely struggling with blocking out shapes before detailing. Yes, that is something, like I said, I struggle with because I want to render it really fast. This is pretty good, honestly. For the amount of time we had to do a big flower garden, I would say my biggest advice is don't go too heavy on the line art too soon, like on the left, where I can see in the middle area you're having more fun playing with transparencies, especially right here, where you can kind of tell there's a leaf in the shadow. That's what I'm talking about with layering. I did it a little bit with mine as well. But even in the shadow areas, you can imply leaves and flowers that are hidden by the top layer. Zad, I think the same thing I just said is I like what you have going on here in terms of you can see some of the leaves in the shadow, but I think it's too defined and the edges are too defined still as well. And I think this would just be better if you were given more time, because I think there wouldn't be as much of a rush to edge everything. And don't be afraid to leave the edging till later in the drawing and work that way. Oh, this is gorgeous. Who's this? Luna. Look at that. Look at that, Luna Laws. This is a good example of really focusing on where light and shadow are mixing, and I like how you've handled it. And there's a soft rendering where it feels it's really easy to build detail on top of because you're giving yourself a good foundation. There you go, Zad. So the only thing I would say, and I think the reference did have a little bit of this. Oh no, okay, I see. So this one, if you can kind of tell, there's a huge tangent right here. Now in the reference image, the leaf goes a little over this pear in the front. So what I would do is literally push it over to avoid the tangent completely. Let me see how the shadow looks. That, just to avoid the tangent, because now it feels like the leaf is overlapping it, where before, oops, you can see how it almost looks like it's going inward in the pear. So you want to avoid that if you can. And this is a good example of make sure you look at your reference, because in this case the reference didn't have the tangent. It's almost like you added it. Drea says, ta-da. Okay, so I can see you're working with a mixture of the soft and hard brush. I think my biggest critique for you would just be, it seems like your middle range of values are a bit scattered. I would focus on pulling that in a bit. So what I mean by that is, like on this bottom pair, so even in the example, let me pull this closer here. So in the example, the pear is mostly neutral. You know what, I'll do a new layer on top so you can see what I'm doing. So it has more of this neutral base. Actually, there really aren't that many highlights on this bottom pair because it's being covered. So I wouldn't focus too much on the highlights.
Oh,
well, thank you. Who is that? Thank you, Jose. You're an inspirational artist, and I hope you can continue making great art. Hugs from the Dominican Republic.
oh.
Well, thank you.
Right by you, TM?
Oh, I get to ring the bell.
And then you get to ring the bell.
Well, thank you so much. We're on our way to getting that bubblefish. And then here I would focus on where the pair intersects. Wait, for reference. So I think for you, my challenge would be focus more on containing your midtones to be more consistent, and then focus more on your shadows, because I can sense you really like highlights, but I think my challenge to you would be focusing more on the shadow and mid-range areas to make it feel more real. And then when you want to add in your little dots, digitally it's a lot easier because you can literally just grab a brush that's a dot brush, and you can play out many of them, even with the side of here. And I think because digital, you have the luxury of making brush sizes bigger and smaller at whenever you want, basically. It's really easy to go in and surround a pair to consistently make it feel lit in a good way. And then something that Justin Gerard does that I really like is after you're finished, he calls this edging as well, but you take whatever that background color is and you edge the area around the object, and that way all the messy lines that may have spilled over are removed. Like that. And I mean, if you still want to do some edging on it, I totally get it because I edge everything out as well, just to give it a little bit more style. But you can see before and after how your pair was so highlighted, and I would focus more on the mid and dark ranges. I know I'm trying to get through these.
Good night, fam.
Good night, fam. I know I'm way over time already. Okay, Eunuch. I struggled a lot with this. Flowers sucked all the energy out. Yeah, I know that flower field was a challenge for sure. I dislike drawing plants. I'll stay with the birds. I might do the next one more simple. We might do an hour-and-a-half study of one subject matter, so that way we can really focus and dive in. I'll try to pick something that I think is a good study. So we'll look at either form or shape or value, something that I know we can draw that will be beneficial. Because this was a challenge just doing a lot. I like how you blocked in the shadow shapes. I would definitely focus on where your midtones are, but I like that you broke it down into shadow and light. But staying consistent with how dark the shadows are, because obviously the pair here has a really dark shadow, and then these are mid-tone. I almost like the mid-tone shadows, and if that was just consistent everywhere. Oh, there are a lot of entries. Very good warm-ups. I like the one on the right, how the bottom of the tree has the squiggles more than the top, because the top usually has more of a billow, and then the bottom's where you see more of the leaves. And it looks like you had the same problem I did with the time constraint. Learning how fast you can work is pretty important. I know for myself, timing things out of knowing how long something will take me. Sometimes I overestimate it, like these pairs, I should have easily added 10 minutes. Or I should have worked faster on certain areas. But I definitely think that'll be a challenge for you then, of learning how fast you work. Okay, with these I can definitely see, you're starting to block in the shapes and edge things out. I think you had the same issue I did where I think there just need to be more time. But also, I would say I would separate some of the values more. Like the leaf in the foreground could have easily been a bit darker to help separate it from that pair. And this is a good example of how contrast can be used so effectively to separate forms from one another. You can see how you make that leaf darker, and even this one. And all of a sudden, the two leaves are very obviously leaves, and then the pairs are just a bit lighter. Oof. I know I said I was going to pick some out, but I wanted to do as many as that people did. Oh, and then we're good. We're done. Okay. So we got through them. So thank you so much for coming to this, I think this is the third Fall Along stream. And like I said, we're hoping to do these every Wednesday. So if you want to do studies alongside Josh and I, and we'll talk about them, we're hoping to do that every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Time. Tomorrow I'm going to be drawing Cloud from Final Fantasy to celebrate the remake launch at midnight. And then Friday I'm having the interview with Volarte. So thank you guys so much for coming, and thank you again to the members who support me on here and getting the custom emojis. Josh, do you have any final words here?
I know there's some, because there's a bunch of things at once
right
before the critiques. There's some things, I don't know if you want to go through
Yeah,
like
we'll
a
grab
couple
a
of these
couple of
quick.
them.
Yeah. Simon says, I think the biggest reason I have so many questions is because coming up in the art world, I never had friends in the art world or went to school for it or anything, so a lot of self-learning. Candor says, I was asked to draw for so many fandoms, but didn't feel them. Sure, I could gain likes and followers, but I didn't feel like it would be dead art, and that is a big no-go for me, so unattractive. Yeah.
Totally agree.
Rachel says, I owe you a lot to you and Ellen for coming to my personal acceptance, that it is okay not to be a painter. Working in wood burning is an unusual medium to take to art shows and conventions. I'm not bothered by being different anymore.
I think it's good to stand out. I think when people are, especially at conventions, I think why my booth stands out is this big white and gold booth. No one else has white and gold for the most part, and it's all pencil stuff. So immediately I stand out amongst the noise. But then same with you. You have wood burning, and you rarely see that. I mean, we saw it at one con, that one guy who we're going to be working with now. But you do custom hand burning, which I don't see very often. And yeah, there's going to be a market for that. But I think it's going to take a little bit of you traveling and making that market. Because I feel like even with pencil, I feel like I've had to establish that pencil is a legit finished product, and it just takes time. But eventually people will catch on.
We'll do one more, because I feel like you're getting tired too. You've been talking.
And I lose my voice pretty
Yeah.
easily.
Dylan, do you sometimes shade with your fingers? I noticed that you brush your page every now and again with your finger. Not sure if you're shading or cleaning off eraser bits.
I try not to rub with my finger, but in instances like this where I'm like on a time constraint, I will smooth things out because normally I do small circles to smooth my gradations. But if I don't have much time, I'll do it quick. But I like the look of manually doing it because then it doesn't have as much of a smear look to it. So it just kind of depends on your time. I try not to use my finger very often, but if you do want to do more smudging, I would buy what's called a smudge stick. I think I might have one. So you see a lot of artists like Eliza and even Miles Art uses this. Basically, it's a blending stump, and it's really easy to make things look super smooth really quickly. But since I like the texture of the paper being seen, I try not to use them very much. Okay.
All right, awesome. Okay.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming. Josh, last words.
You guys are wonderful. I love you all.
All right, take care, and maybe we'll see you tomorrow. And if you want to keep the conversation going, we have the Discord link below. Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye.